Hello and welcome back to BitBar. This is episode 11 of our Nintendo Dual Versus System restoration. So what we've got here in this very, very chilly day in the garage is a whole bunch of parts which are prepped and ready for paint. It's very exciting. We're in the home stretch of the body work being done. Actually, we're like at the finish line. So today is Wednesday. On Friday, I'm packing all this crap up, throwing it in the trusty Vanagon, and we're going over to Sam's, our fellow we had on here a few episodes ago. The guy helped us out with a bunch of the body work and taught us how to do some of that stuff. Going over to Sam's place where he works and his auto shop, and they have a paint booth. So we're gonna throw these bad boys in the booth and lay down some color on them, and I'm very, very excited. We'll definitely be filming that whole thing. Apparently, I'm even potentially going to be able to get behind the gun, which is pretty sweet. It's something I've never done before, something I've always kind of wanted to do, at least try. And, I've got a compressor here in the garage, which which is great. And, I actually went out and bought an old gun, or not an old gun, but a new gun at Harbor Freight. Kind of a crappy $15 kind of job. And that was kind of originally what I was thinking maybe I'd be able to shoot these things with. And Sam basically was just like, dude, let's do it right. So I know that this is probably not something that everyone's going to have access to be able to actually get into a paint booth and shoot this stuff with like pro grade guns. I don't know what these things cost. I mean, like I said, the one I got at Harbor Freight was like $15. My understanding is these these professional guns, you're talking hundreds of dollars just for like the gun, not even including pressure regulators and all the rest of the doohickeys and tips and whatnot that go on them. So anyway, even though it's not going to be something everyone's going to have access to, I really wanted to show it and invite you guys to come along on that. So it's going to be a wonderful little adventure. But I'm really excited. So this is like the end. I can't even tell you how many times. Or how much time I have spent rubbing these things with pieces of sandpaper and Scotch-Brite and laying down paint and laying down primer and laying down the paint for the guide coat and laying down primer and sanding and sanding and sanding. And I'm so freaking sick of sanding. And I was telling Sam when he came over a couple weeks ago, I wanted to kind of do a sign-off on the work that I've done so far and just make sure that I haven't done something horrible that's going to make it so that when we get to the shop, it's just going to be a nightmare, and we'll have to redo work or something like places where it's not smooth enough or places where scratches are showing, sand scratches are showing through or something like that. And anyway, he came over and gave me the sign off that I do not have to rub these things anymore. I am done rubbing red tint parts for now, which is great. So we got that to look forward to. So that's probably almost certainly going to be the next episode after this one. But for this one, how about we rub some stuff? After I thought I was done rubbing things, it occurred to me that I actually have quite a bit more rubbing left to do. So these are some of the metal parts of the red tent. So this is the coin reject buttons, and this sits on the front. Grab a panel. Right in here. And so it's front and center. These things have to look as nice as I possibly can make them. You're sitting here playing the game, and this is the kind of thing that's going to be like right in your face. So these are pretty filthy. I don't think they're going to be too bad to clean up. Mostly it's just dirt and grime that's kind of built up on them. Unfortunately, there's some that have some pretty big scratches in them, and they may just not be salvageable. I mean, this one, I don't know if you can see that, but this one's got a big scratch and it goes right through the Nintendo logo here. Otherwise, it's in great shape, but What are you gonna do? I'm gonna have to polish these things up, and I'm gonna pick the very best ones for the games that I'm putting together here. But so one of the ones I've got to play with a little bit is this one, and it's got two extra holes here. Someone drilled into it. You can see those holes are not supposed to be there. They someone in their infinite wisdom at some point decided to put these holes. So what they're for, I discovered, is on this frame, the part that goes on the back must have snapped off at some point. Now these were welded on at the factory. These are welded on right here. So what it should look like is like that. And you can see no holes drilled in here. So they're tacked on here. They're welded on to the front here. You can see there's no holes on the front. But at some point this thing must have broke off, and rather than doing something, I don't know, somewhat smart like using JB Weld or something like that, some kind of metal epoxy or something to actually hold this on, they decided, oh hey, we'll just drill a hole in this thing and I'm sure that'll hold it perfectly. And I'm sure it did hold it perfectly. However, it looks awful. And there's no way, I mean, basically I couldn't use this piece. I mean, I suppose I could have tried to figure out some way to fill, because they had to put these holes in there too. Those are not factory. Could have found some way to fill these holes, you know, like I said, maybe some JB Weld or something, and patch those and fill them up. But you know what? The rest of this actual tent part here, this red piece, is not in fantastic shape. So this is one of the ones that I'm abandoning. This one will not be part of my red tents. And if you want to come get these things, you're more than welcome to come pull them out of my garage, because they're basically, I don't know, they're kind of trash to me. I'll offer them up for anyone who wants them, but I'm not going to ship these things. I've got two like this. That both of them were like that too. I don't know what the deal was, but both sides, the other angled upright, also had that same thing where they knocked it out and drilled it. So I don't know. I have no idea what the decision was behind that. But I guess the good news is I have an extra one of these plates here that I can kind of play with and test to find out what the best way is to clean these things and see if we can get a nice polish to them. One of the things I'm a little bit worried about is that there's sort of I don't know, it's a laser etching or what that is in there, but the Nintendo logo that's actually, you know, part of, or it's in the metal, I don't want to lose that when I'm polishing these things. And like this one's actually was pretty clean, but the logo is kind of faint. Like at certain light angles, it sort of almost vanishes a little bit, and that's no good. So I want to try cleaning these things up, and I'm gonna play with this one and see what I learn. See if I can hit them with something and not remove that logo. There's also kind of a grain to it, like the plate here, aluminum plate. It's got a certain grain. It's a sort of a horizontal grain to it. So when I'm polishing, I'm going to want to stick with that grain, not go against it. And you're going to put you put a new texture in it. So you really want to stick with what's there. I don't know, maybe they were clear coated or something. There's almost like there's a coating on it too. Anyway, so all I'm going to start with here is just, you know, simple green, classic cleaner here. Just spray that down. I'm going to let that kind of soak in while I look at the next parts that we need to do. And that is our control panel overlays. So same deal. These things have got a grain to them, so you're going to want to be careful when you're polishing them to maintain that grain. But kind of like the way that the Nintendo logo is etched in here, these ones are screened with the arrows and the B and the A buttons and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all screened on here. You definitely don't want to lose that, especially if it looks nice and bright on your parts. you want to maintain that paint. So we're gonna have to try some experiments and find out what will work to clean this up without damaging it. So I'm just gonna let this simple green kind of soak in for a little bit. We'll hit it with it's a triple aught 3M steel wool here. So just a package. I kind of like this one. Sort of like the Magic Eraser Selecticize things. So you can use kind of the smaller ones, rip them off. You can also get the triple aught stuff in pads. It works the same way. So they're sort of like the old, like you kind of how you usually think of steel wool as being kind of a big ball of wool, steel wool kind of thing that you can work with. Those will work just fine. I just happen to have these. I think I may have even picked these up for the paint project. So I just figured that was kind of a nice, easy size to work with. And as that stuff soaks in, just gonna give it a few, let it kind of work in and break up some of this dirt, and we're gonna be gently trying to knock some of this stuff free. And I would say you probably almost certainly want to use some kind of liquid. So kind of like wet sanding. You don't want to dry rub this stuff. And I mean, like no pressure really. I'm really just kind of running it over. I don't know where the threshold is for where this etching will start losing its definition. You know, for testing your own stuff, you could always do the backs. I mean, the backs are not going to show anywhere. So if you've got parts that you want to try using other, you know, maybe something different, to Scotch pads or other things to clean these things with, you know, the backs should be safe. So you should be can play with that, and they'll definitely, you're gonna want to clean both the front and the back at some point anyway. So you can experiment, but this is the kind of thing where you kind of don't get a do-over. I mean, if you screw this up and you end up with a, like I say, like, you know, one of these things where the logo is kind of disappearing, that's it. I mean, that's your only option, is either to live with what is on there. Kind of looks like someone actually cleaned this one up at some point. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of parts when I was putting together just when I just had the one of these things, and I think I got a bunch of parts from all over the place. So this must have been something I got from somewhere else. But anyway, this has definitely been worked on at some point. So it's the cleanest one that I've got here. So this is definitely something that someone has worked on. But yeah, I mean, once that's done, that's done. That's not going to you can't get that back. I mean, your only choice is to, like I said, live with it or replace it. Or I suppose, you know, I've seen people, maybe you can get a sticker, like a Nintendo sticker for over the top of it. That would at least hide it, so it would probably look good. I might recommend that if yours are kind of like that far gone, and you're not able to find replacement parts, or you're just looking for something to look good for now. Is maybe find a nice Nintendo sticker that you can just put over the top there. You know, I've seen actually someone on, I want to say it was eBay, has stickers that go over the tops of the control panels, and I think around the frames inside here, kind of like Donkey Kong, the way Donkey Kong has sort of graphics around the frames. Some guy did some custom stuff, and you know, maybe that's an option for you as well. I'm kind of trying to keep these things on the original side, but you know, hey, if you want to get your game looking nice, I mean, that is a possibility. Just one little dirt booger in there I want to get rid of. So then this is just water, so just hose it off a little bit and see what it looks like. Well, the good news is I do not think that has damaged the logo in any significant way. I mean, I'm not seeing horizontal. I mean, it was already this big scratch in addition to. Looks like almost like when they were drilling this hole here, maybe they screwed up and the bit walked away from there and they scratched along there. And maybe not, but it's what it looks like. And you know what? It's a terrible idea, and I should have done it in the first place. But that's really cleaned off a lot of the stuff that was on there, and there still is this sort of almost like there was a finish on here. But this seems to be working. I'm gonna work a little bit more on this side over here where there's like I said, like that, there's almost like that coating that's on there, and see if I can knock that down. Because I am seeing that same problem on these other pieces. So a little bit more simple green. Go ahead and re-wet that thing so that it doesn't dry. And I'm just going to work in this side. Just a tiny bit more pressure, but I'm not going gonzo on this thing. You know, I suppose I could try maybe another, rather than just using simple grain, I could try using some other solvent, you know, WD-40 or a metal polish. I've got some metal polishes. What else do I've got? Brake Clean. I use that for the joysticks. That works pretty well. You know, maybe I'll do that. It's definitely helped a lot, but I'd like to see if that can get even a little bit nicer. Let's try. I almost think like so. This Mother's this billet metal polish stuff for polishing, well, polished items. You know, maybe that's the next best thing. Usually this is like the finish step, which I guess we're kind of at here. So this stuff, it's like a paste. I get it at like auto supply stores, AutoZone, Napa, that kind of thing. And it's like a rubbing compound. It just has a bit of a grip to it. You just want to take and it changes out here. It's cold out here. Like I said, those heaters help a lot. They're just like the oil-filled heaters. Man, it's chilly. The garage is fully insulated, but I don't have an actual heating system in here, like a electric heater or baseboard heaters or anything like that, which would be pretty super awesome. But these oil-filled heaters that I've got, they're just the portable ones. They do actually a pretty good job. I just haven't had them on for a few days because I haven't been out here, and I don't like to run them. I run them in a mode where they have a no freeze mode. So the idea there is that they'll try and they'll kick on automatically with their thermostats. Will kick on automatically if it starts getting down to around 40 degrees. And the idea there is it just keeps the room that they're in from freezing, so they'll automatically turn themselves on, which is kind of nice. So this stuff, like I said, it's just a paste. You put it on. I'm sticking with the grain here, and you just want to use a paper towel or something, and you just rub it. And it like I said, it has like polishing compound, or like a rubbing compound. It has a grit to it, so it will get in there, and it's very lightly abrasive. You know, maybe this will be the stuff to use over the logo. I'll have to give that a try once I get all this figured out. Maybe if this one does work, even if it doesn't work as effectively as other things, maybe it becomes what I can polish the logo with, since it's so lightly abrasive without removing it. You can see, so that started off white, so I'm definitely removing stuff as it's turning black. Just find a cleaner spot. You know, that gave it a nice shine, which is what it's supposed to do. It's a polish. But it's not really getting rid of that stuff. I don't think it's abrasive enough. That's kind of what I was worried about. So I'm going to need something maybe a little bit heavier duty than this to remove that stuff. However, the stuff that's on there is really shiny. So maybe I'll finish with this, which is kind of, like I said, like it's kind of what I expected to do. But this is really kind of more of like, part's done, it looks awesome, you just need to make it look shiny. So the parts that are finished, man, that looks great. But you can see sort of the shine on here on one side compared to the other. And that'll look super awesome over here. Kind of brings out, you know, some of the milkiness, the softness over here that's a little bit duller and not as nice, and really makes it pop. And my God, I can actually pretty easily see reflection in the side of it. That's beautiful. So I'll definitely use this Mother's stuff, this billet polish to finish these things up, but that's not going to help us get this thing clean. All right. So, or remove this finish or whatever we're doing here. All right, so too soon on that. That's fine. We'll come back to that one later. What else have I got? You know, I could try oils like WD-40. That's definitely solid. But maybe brake clean. That may break down. Now this stuff you got to be careful with. I would recommend, the way that it comes out of here is pretty energetic, shall we say. So I definitely would recommend throwing some safety glasses on. Just, you don't want this stuff in your eyes. And we really just need a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of it just to see if it's going to work at all. You know, I guess I could have done all this stuff off camera and found out what works and then come back. But what the hell, I had the camera here. All right, so this is the brake clean. Probably not going to need much soaking in here, and this stuff is a little on the toxic side too, so I'm going to get a little high. Part of the problem with the brake clean is, by design, it dries very quickly. So you end up kind of working on it dry. Now that's pretty good. I can still see, like in certain angles of light, I'm still seeing some of it though. Well, let me work on this a little bit more, and I'll come back in just a minute for you guys and see what I come up with. All right. Okay, it's the next day. I tried some experiments. I tried, for fun, rubbing compound, which I kind of knew, much like the metal polish, probably was not going to work. But I figured I'd give it a whirl, see if that could knock down, again, it's whatever this film is that kind of builds up on the metal. Of course, the Simple Green we tried. And I tried Bug and Tar Remover. Since that's supposed to be gentle on paint finishes, or gentle-ish on paint finishes. And it worked okay. Kind of like nothing has really blown my socks off for how it's working. And again, I'm trying to figure out a way to do this without rubbing too much, just for fear of removing this logo. So I was on the KLOV forums, the Killer List of Video Games forums, and another guy on there, Jim Bodini, is doing a red tent restoration as well. He's got a really interesting one in that his got converted into a Neo Geo cabinet, which that's an unusual conversion. But then again, you know, I mean, everything was getting converted into Neo Geo there, it seemed like, for a while. Anyway, he said he had great luck with Goof Off, which is a pretty aggressive adhesive, and you know, I've used it for removing sticker residue and stuff like that from things, and it's pretty aggressive stuff. So hopefully, I'm gonna have the kind of luck that he had here. And he said he just kind of dabbed it on here and let it go to work for a few minutes, and then came back and then was able to kind of just rub it clean, and it came right off. So I'm gonna give Jim's idea here a test and see what happens. So this stuff does recommend safety goggles, which I will definitely wear. I mean, much like the brake clean, you know, you don't want to get the stuff in your eyes. It's not quite as risky since this is it's a pour. You pour it out usually into a rag, and then you rub the rag onto the surface so that you're trying to clean. So it's not like the spray of the brake clean, but you know what? Safety first. And it does recommend also, if you have sensitive skin, it specifically says if you have sensitive skin, you might want to wear latex gloves or some kind of glove with it. I don't typically have real bad skin, but because it says it, I'm going to go ahead and put some on. You know, it's a good idea just generally to have a box of latex gloves around the garage. I'm only going to put one on because I'm only really going to use one hand to get on the rag. So I'll put my righty in here. it says to put it on the rag, and what I've done is I went and grabbed. I use these all the time, like old lids from bins that either we don't have anymore or we're not using the tops for them for whatever reason. So, you know, you get the plastic bins and the lids hang out, and it's kind of nice since I'm working on basically what's a card table here. Which I've been looking for a replacement table. Saw some at Costco the other day that kind of thought about maybe picking one up, but it's big is a problem. Like I like these small work areas, and my bench, of course, I should be using my bench, but as usual, my bench is full of stuff. So, yeah, not using the bench. So anyway, so what I am using is a card table, and I've got this. It's just a 3/4 inch, or no, sorry, 1/2 inch OSB that I just had left over from another project, and that's what's basically protecting the surface of the card table. But you know, it's a bit rickety, and anyway, you know, having a good work surface would be nice. So anyway, using this to protect the OSB, which is protecting the card table, which is giving me a place to work that isn't my bench. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to take some of the goof off here. And I did give it a shake, but it was a little while ago, so. All right, let me give it another quick shake. And I've just got some paper towels here. And all I'm going to do is just dribble a little bit on here. Hopefully you shouldn't need too terribly much to start with. You know, it's so sloppy coming off the can. I am going to use a rag, and I'll use the hand with the glove on it. How about that? All right, so that was a lot. Yeah, I gotta say, if you're doing this kind of work, that cloud forums, and I'm sure I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again, but the cloud forums are such a fantastic resource. I mean, ideas like this, where it's like, you know, I could have gone through more stuff. I could have gone on to, you know, other polishes or other solvents. You know, I don't know if like a citrus strip. We've used that in the past to pull stuff off of metal. I wouldn't want to use citrus strip on the painted parts of like the control panels here, because I would assume that it probably would remove the paint as well. But you know, just other solvent ideas, and you know, someone had good luck with goof off. So that's, you know, that's great. Helpful getting ideas like that, and you know, it's a community, and we're all kind of sharing ideas about the restorations as we're doing them. You know, like I said, he's actually working on his the same time. I've been working on mine for a little while longer, just because I'm doing 3, and because honestly, I haven't been out here working like, you know, constantly on them. But yeah, it's like turned out to be really good timing that I was out here the other day, yesterday. Starting this stuff, and then after not having terribly good luck, you know, I went inside and looked on the forums, and he had posted up his good luck with this. So thanks, Jim. The stuff, just like the regular dirt on here, this stuff isn't abrasive, so I'm not as worried about going against the grain. This is more of a chemical than an abrasion kind of thing. So you know, the dirt and grime is coming off, and I guess that sort of patina gold color, titanium color kind of thing might be coming off a bit too. Well, I'm kind of feeling like I'm gonna have to go back to using this steel wool a little bit. I mean, it seems like it's making a difference, but it's pretty minor. I mean, it's basically it's the same kind of luck I'm having with everything, really. And maybe, you know, not saying Jim was wrong, obviously, about any of the stuff. It's just that the problems that I'm seeing on these ones must be different than the ones that he had on the 2 that he was working on. Anyway, I'm gonna keep working on with the goof off and this stuff. And I'll come back once I'm ready to start moving on to some different parts, but I think you've seen me scrub these things enough for now. See you soon. So, I think what I'm going to start with now is do some of that final polishing with that billet polish I've got here, Mother's. And I've touched it a couple of times with this stuff to kind of see how this is gonna go on here. But I need to give it a final polish now. So basically it's clean, front and back. Just now, just put a little bit on the cloth here, and I'm just gonna buff it in, and I'm hoping that this is gonna turn out pretty shiny when we're done. And I'm pretty sure I've not hurt the logo on here any more than was already damaged. Got a little bit more work I'm going to do in this corner where I've been kind of holding it, but I really want to see what this finish is going to look like. Alright, so now I've got it rubbed in pretty well. Just going to use a microfiber cloth here. And remove the excess. And buff it in. Alright. Well, hopefully that's showing up on camera. And again, this corner that I'm holding on doesn't... I have a lot of work left to do on that one. But, yeah, that turned out pretty nice. And again, you're seeing, at least I am, seeing some pretty good reflections in it. So, and I still have a very discernible brushed look to it. So I haven't damaged sort of the original brushed feel to it, which is awesome. Looks very pretty. So that's great. That's turned out really nice, I think. Trying to catch it kind of a good angle there in the camera that you can see the shine on it. But yeah, that should look real nice once we get these things painted and start getting some parts assembled. So there we are. That's what the finished product. Again, aside from up here where I still need to do a little bit more cleanup and finish the polishing on. But you know, that came quite a ways from, you know, where these things started. Now I know that, you know, like that's still has some goof off on it, but you know, things weren't super pretty, and they're turning out pretty now. Anyway, so that's how I'm gonna finish up the rest of these. And you know, maybe at the end of this video I can stack up all my completed parts and you can see what they all turn out looking like. But I want to move on to some of these other parts, these control panel overlays, and getting these things clean, which is going to be a lot of the same stuff. I've got on the side here, I don't even know how many of these things. I've got 10 or so control panel overlays. The ones over here are generally in okay shape. The ones over here on my right, those ones are a little rougher. So these ones are the ones I'm going to do some tests with, is the rougher ones. Yeah, you know, some of these things are just beat to hell. Looks like someone, I don't even know what this is, but you know, someone tried to scrape that. I don't know. There's a bunch of those marks like that all over on here, so no idea what their plan was, but anyway, I don't mind kind of messing these ones up if that's what happens. I'm thinking I may go ahead and use the goof off on these parts as well. That one's, I think I cleaned this one down pretty well with Simple Green, and that came out pretty good. Let's try, where's my lid? Let's try some goof off over here. Let that soak in a bit. I kind of have the feeling that the goof off may be slightly overkill for these guys. I have a feeling that a good Simple Green bath is probably going to clean these things up as much as I will reasonably be able to hope for. Years of sodas and who knows what else get dumped down the back of these things. I mean, these still definitely have that same sort of brushed aluminum grain to them. It's a horizontal pattern. And they don't look bad. But yeah, I have a feeling simple green and just a little bit of elbow grease here is all I'm going to need to clean these things. So I think the goof off is going to be a bit overkill. All right, so cleaning. I'll go ahead and finish cleaning up these guys, and maybe, like I said, I'll find one that that turns out nice. But this is not going to be very exciting. So this is just Citrus Strip, or I'm sorry, Citrus Strip. This is just Simple Green, and we'll get these things cleaned up. All right. All right. So I'm making good headway on the control panel overlays and the coin return, coin reject button plates. But we've got a whole bevy of other metal parts to deal with. So for these other parts, I got this idea from another guy on YouTube, John's Arcade, who's done a great number of restores, and certainly if you're into watching this channel, I'm sure that John's stuff would be that much more entertaining. Anyway, he followed someone else's advice, I think, originally too, but got one of these guys. And what this is, it's a case tumbler for ammunition. Well, for the shells. I don't really know a lot about guns, but basically I think it's the brass shells that are that the bullet casings go into. Maybe those are the bullet casings. Anyway, those things you can reuse them, and they throw them in these tumblers, which basically just vibrates and creates kind of a little sort of a vortex of whatever the media that you're using in here. And so the parts move around, and as they're doing that, they get clean, and they knock off certain polish to them, and knock off dirt and other things that have been that are actually on the parts. So I picked this up. I loaded it up with all the other metal parts. So that's a reject button there, and I let it run for probably about a little over 24 hours. It can go a lot more. I know that if you've got really dirty parts, you'll need to run it a lot more. But basically, I just took all the parts, threw them in here, and then I put in some Novus 2. That's this stuff right here, which is just kind of a polishing compound. Now this is actually for plastics, so I wasn't sure if this was going to do much of anything to metal, but I figured it was a compound in there. And then I just let it go. So this is, it's been sitting on the floor here, and I've actually been really curious about what the parts are going to look like. And they weren't too terrible bad, which is the reason why I only did it for 24 hours. But they shined up, they shined up pretty darn good. These frames, I want to say these frames, oh yeah, they are. These are for the, so if you hit reject in a coin, the coin drops down into the reject slot, and then you can pick up the coin with this. There's a whole box, that's the reason why I couldn't remember. There's a whole box that goes on the back side of this that actually is what the coin falls into. But I want to say, I mean, aside from probably needing just to be dusted off, I guess it's no surprise. And this media that I've got in here is just crushed walnut shells. That also came from John's Success. I guess it's going to be upside down because I opened the bag upside down. But it's Desert Blend ground English walnut shells. So, and as I understand it, this is just basically like the lizard you see in here. Just a reptile stuff, so that it's like bedding basically for reptiles. So I got this from Amazon for like 30 bucks, something like that, and then this giant 10 quart bag. I guess it's 10 quart bag for somewhere around $10, I think, which seemed reasonable. So yeah, and maybe just a quick warning on using these things. You definitely they make a little bit of noise, so you're gonna have to put up with that. So I just left it out here in the garage where it wouldn't bother anyone. And then secondly, um, it shakes, so you want to get it on the ground. And I just threw an extension cord on it and put it on the ground, kind of over in the corner, and let it do its thing. I came out and checked on it a couple times. It does have make sure it's not like walking across the floor. Anyway, so I just filled the bin third of the way up or so with the media, and I want to say this stuff. This is pretty much coming out here. It was pretty nasty stuff going in. I mean, just really dirty and um, just gunk all over them. But man, they're coming out here beautiful, and with like no real work. Yeah. So this thing, I guess I'll have to reserve some judgment for trying it with parts that are really nasty. But I would say with for a tool which requires no effort whatsoever aside from just loading it up and throwing stuff in, um, this is a real winner. So this media is reusable. I guess there's a point where it'll get so filled with muck and the dirt that you remove from parts that it'll be like you just will want to replace it. But I don't think that like I'm not going to throw this away. I've got plenty of the bedding material, so I'll be able to do lots of projects in the future. But I don't see any reason to throw this stuff away. Right, so I'm gonna finish doing up these things, but I would say this part is a resounding success, and I want to say thanks to John and John's Arcade for the idea, or at least going through. I know that he probably heard it from someone on Clav too, but it doesn't matter. I mean, all good ideas. All right, now we've got our biggest polishing part to deal with. That'd be the chrome legs on these guys. So I've got these torn down, but I need to start by cleaning them all up. So just some simple green at this point. Knock the big stuff loose. Probably go ahead and just use my steel wool here as well. Now chrome's tricky. Chrome, I mean it's a plating that goes over the top of these metals, and to accomplish it, they have to dip the parts in these big vats, and it's some heavy-duty chemicals that are involved. And there's probably some places around, most people's cities, if you live in a decent-sized city, that will have chrome shops. It can be on the expensive side, a little bit on the expensive side, to do. Sometimes smaller parts like this probably won't be as bad as doing like I don't know, like a whole chrome bumper on an old car or something like that. So that might be an option if you're looking to do kind of an over-the-top restoration and you're willing to pay top dollar to have your parts refinished. I would definitely recommend that. I'm building players games here. I'm building games that don't look like they just came from the factory, but just look nice and something that you would feel good about having in your home. So with that said, I'm not re-chroming them. I am just going to use some Turtle Wax chrome polish here. This stuff basically, you just kind of give it a shake and comes out kind of like a wet paste, and you just kind of rub it in, and then just cover all the parts with it, and all the parts that you want to shine up. And then kind of once I get the initial squirt of it rubbed out, then I kind of go back in and just sort of gently buff it in. You want to leave it standing. You don't want to try and buff it out, because what you do is you rub it in and then you let it dry, kind of like I guess like turtle wax, like you're waxing your car. You let it dry and then you buff that out. And this is I don't know, this is a little bit of an experiment as well, because I have a feeling, because of how roughed up the tops of these are, because it's people kind of put their feet on them. They're on the floor, of course, so they do see a lot of abuse. I have a feeling that this is not going to shine it up maybe as much as I'd like. So I may a couple of other options. One of which is get yourself a buffing wheel for a drill, and then you can use a rubbing compound or a polishing compound, sorry, and go through and kind of basically take off a little bit of those rough spots with a polishing wheel on your drill and just run it over. We might do that. Another option is to get yourself a polishing wheel on like a bench grinder. I've sort of been looking for an excuse to pick one of those up. I don't know if this project is going to be big enough to justify that. Not because of the expense. They're not terribly expensive. Just it's space. They take up space. So the bench grinder itself is, they're usually about like that big or so, and then they've got a wheel on either side, that vertically mounted wheel, and those wheels will have you can put different pads on them, and that'll allow you to basically hold the part up against the wheel and kind of polish it out, rather than using a kind of a drill thing. I guess at the end of the day, it's a real similar job that it gets done, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna see how this turns out. I'm guessing this is going to be a little underwhelming. It'll look nice and clean. It's probably not as shiny as I would like them to turn out, but yeah, we'll see. So I'm gonna let this dry for a few more minutes. I want it to get chalky and like you're waxing your car, get it nice and chalky, and then we'll buff it out and see how that works. All right, so I'm just wrapping up polishing off the chrome polish here, and I was going to switch over to the billet polish. I'm not sure if this is going to show up on camera or not, but like I thought, I mean, it's still pretty scratched up. I mean, it looks bright and definitely polished, especially on the sides here where it hasn't seen as much abuse as the tops do. The sides look particularly nice. So I'm not as worried about them. However, I do want to kind of work a little bit more on this top here. So back to a little bit of this Mother's polish here. And I still have a feeling like this isn't going to get me the final finish that I really, really want on these things. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to look as nice as the sides look, just because it's basically the scratches are etched into the metal. And it maybe this is as good as we're going to be able to get this, and that's okay. I mean, they look good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not complaining about the way they look. I'd really like to see if I can get a little bit further on the shine on these things. Oh yeah, I mean, that helps a lot. That polish, that billet polish stuff is definitely helping a lot. But, you know, again, if I put it on the floor here, that's not at all embarrassing looking. I mean, that looks really nice. I just wish I could brighten it up just a bit more. So, I've tried what? I've tried Goof Off. I've tried Turtle Wax Chrome Polish. I've tried Mother's Billet Polish. I've tried Rubbing Compound. I've tried Simple Green. Tried all these things, and they've all kind of worked. But nothing has really kind of blown my socks off as far as effectiveness. So I decided to try something I read on the internet. Aluminum foil. Just a Reynolds wrap here. And soda. So I don't drink this stuff, so I didn't have any around the house, so I went out and grabbed some. And I tested it on just a little piece, and I've read, maybe there's more out there. I really kind of only did a cursory search, and since a $1 for a 2 liter of soda seemed like a worthwhile experiment, and I had some aluminum foil laying around the house, so yeah. So let's give this a quick try here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm using another plastic lid for a bin. Just put a little bit of soda on there. And then just grabbing a piece of aluminum foil. Wad that up just kind of loosely. And go to town on it. So there's lots of videos that I've found out there where people have had tremendous success with this. I haven't verified this, but I think I'd read somewhere that Mythbusters might have done, the show on Discovery, might have done an episode or done a part of an episode that was looking into this. I don't know, I thought maybe I'd look into that a little bit later, but I wanted to try it first. Again, because it was such a low-cost experiment. And so all I'm doing here is just running circles. Now it started all loose, but it's compressing as I kind of work, and I'm really not putting all that much pressure on it. I'll probably dial up the pressure a little bit in certain areas if I see something being stubborn. Alright, so with that little bit of work done, rinse it with just a little bit of water here. And obviously you're going to need to use something more than just water when you're doing your final rinse and clean, because you don't want the syrup and stickiness and whatnot to hang out after you're done. But just to find out where we're at, that actually, amusingly enough, takes out a lot of the really funny discoloration. This is still going to need a polish from a polishing compound. I don't know if that worked or not. Is that goofy? Seems kind of goofy. There's a lot of videos out there showing that it works. I mean, it looks a lot cleaner than the other side. It's kind of hard to tell if that's going to show up. So it definitely cleaned it. I don't know if I would say that it shined it. But that's okay. That wasn't our last line. But see I don't know if this is going to show up. But there's this stuff, just like the other pieces. This stuff it's like a tarnish that's on all these things. And I didn't really get the end here very well. Maybe I should hit that real quick. Just try it with a little bit of water. Yeah, it's like I don't know if the catalyst in this is, or the active catalyst in this is is it the coke? Is it the foil? Seems like it's got to be the foil. I mean, that's what's really kind of digging in here. And maybe I'm supposed to leave the coke on for a long time. Maybe I should do some more research on this goofy internet video thing of polishing chrome like this. I swear I did not read about this like in one place and decide to give it a try. There's quite a few things out there. I mean, obviously Google it for yourself if you wish. Well, I mean, that's definitely very clean and smooth. All right, well, so like I said, that wasn't our last line. Maybe we'll do some more stuff with the foil and soda trick. But let's hit this with what I was expecting to have to do anyway. The next step. So I went and got some other polish. This one's Metallic Polish Cream by Blue Magic. That was supposed to be safe for chrome. It's some pretty nasty smelling stuff. Blue Magic. God, yeah, it smells super strong like ammonia. All right, so got a little bit on the surface there. And what I'm using here is just a polishing wheel on air powered here. You could probably find something like these guys for for an electric drill, cordless drill or electric drill. And basically, so I'm gonna just kind of smear this in without using the tool, just to get the polish really evenly spread around on the surface. And I'm going to let that haze up for a minute or two here. Before I actually hit it with the gun. All right, that's hazed up pretty well there. So yeah, like I said, so start it with the tool, the surface of the pad actually on the surface that you're going to be polishing, and just keep it moving. Got this set on a fairly high speed right now. So then, just come in with a cloth and buff it out. Get the last of the material off of there. Can still see some spots I'm going to have to hit again, but just showing technique right now. And that's got the start of a really nice shine on it now. I mean, you can definitely see that it makes quite a huge difference if you look on the left side here versus the right. And the left side, again, that was cleaned, not, I guess not scrubbed, but certainly cleaned. And, we're getting a pretty decent reflective surface coming out there. So I'm going to keep polishing and get the other side done. And we'll come back when I've got a little bit more to show, maybe. Alright, now that's what I'm talking about. That's got to be showing up on the camera. This side, I mean, there's still some scratches in it, just because, I mean, again, I'm not rechroming these things, where you would actually deplate this and then get in there and sand that down to a perfect smooth finish. But that right there, with just a good polish on it, is a huge difference. So that's, I don't know if I'm going to buy into the whole aluminum foil polishing. That I don't know, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'm still going to even polish up this just a bit more in this area here. But man, that really is the shine that I was hoping to get on these things. And that's just, you know, a good polishing compound and, you know, a tool. Like I said, this is a pneumatic, this is an air tool. So uh, if you don't have a compressor, you can see in the back here, this is my 33-gallon compressor, and it's a workhorse. It does a great job. Let me pan up here so you can see it a little bit better. That's this guy here, and it's a great unit. Had it for quite a while, and it's never let me down. It's a Craftsman. I'm not sponsored by Craftsman or anything, but it's a good tool. Got it on sale at Sears, I think, and it's been great. So if you do have that, I think I picked this guy up at Harbor Freight, which, you know, Harbor Freight, you can sometimes get decent tools from them. I usually, if I'm going to go to Harbor Freight, usually the kind of stuff I'll buy is like consumables, like the pads here. These are just, you know, Velcro pads. You know, I'll go buy these kinds of things at Harbor Freight because, you know, the quality of their tools to me are always a little bit suspect. But, you know, but the stuff like consumables, you can usually get them there for reasonable prices, and they're, you know, the nice thing is their tools, they do have a pretty good return policy. And generally, you know, if you get a bad tool, you can return it so pretty quickly, and ugh, that's gross. So anyway, picked this up for pretty cheap, and I've been pretty happy with it. And so, and that particular compound that I was using, like I said, was a Blue Magic metal polish cream. I have a strong suspicion that the Mother's metal polish that I've used on other projects before would work just as well as that, as the Blue Magic stuff. And it doesn't smell quite as bad. But, you know, maybe I'll give the Mother's stuff a try on another panel to see if it's comparable. But I'm well pleased with that. That looks great. Look at that fingerprints getting put into it. But that's the shine. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because, again, I'm not rechroming. But that is the kind of shine that I really want to get off these things. So I'm going to get back to work and get these things polished up. You saw basically what I was doing there is just kind of keeping it moving and running in areas that I was working on, and just work your way kind of across the piece. You know, let the tool do most of the work. Was not... You know, it's not really adding any pressure. And in fact, you may find that if you add additional pressure to this thing, you're probably just going to destroy your pads a lot faster. So, you know, keep that in mind, that you know, if you're sitting here jamming this thing down, thinking it's going to do, you know, the work faster, you're probably not the case, and you will end up destroying these things. Right, so back to it. I will come back in a few, and hopefully we'll see some finished products here. Alright, so I've been scrubbing, polishing, going crazy on metal parts for the last couple days, really. And, you know, I was really dubious about the quality, or not quality, but dubious about the, how well this was going to work. The tin foil and soda. And I still really haven't determined if it's the tin foil or the soda. But when I moved to the smaller pieces, the coin insert and reject plates, I had that film that I was really frustrated with. The goof off didn't work, the tar and bug remover didn't work, brake clean didn't work. Nothing really seemed to work without really being aggressive. And when I moved over to these parts, you know, so I just got this is a wad of aluminum foil. So here's one that's a little bit less completely demolished, and yeah, it flattens as you're kind of working with it. But you know, back to doing the same thing I was doing earlier, where just rubbing with the grain, and with very, very little work. And this little black nasty soup that I'm working in here, that is soda. That's that Diet Coke that I was using. And I gotta say, this stuff works. This is amazing. This is totally and 100% working. And it's fast. It's not requiring a lot of effort. I mean, probably the biggest effort here is actually me bent over because I don't want to sit down here because I end up splashing myself. But you know, sitting here bent over is a bit rough. But the actual amount of effort and scrubbing that I'm doing here is pretty minimal. And I'm still just kind of going around the little the Nintendo logo that's etched in here. I'm still not convinced that not confident enough that it's not going to take that away. But this piece had all kinds of that tarnish on it, and it's just gone. I mean, just gone. And it's just me rubbing it with this aluminum foil and a little bit of the Diet Coke here. So I am amazed. Like I said, this is going so extremely well, and these things are turning out so awesome. You win, Internet. You win. This works great. Just amazing. I thought that I was going to have to settle for these things just not showing, just not looking all that great. They look fantastic. All right, so what else? Polishing. As I said, I'm going to continue working on these pieces, and I have. So this one's done. This one turned out, sorry, my hands are all wet from soda. This one turned out absolutely gorgeous. This is, I believe, about as good as this can look without a scrubbing down and like removing the plating and then repolishing and then chroming it. This looks beautiful, and this is a good example of how the other ones are turning out. Anyway, I'm going to finish up polishing here, and then we'll come back with a little bit of a wrap-up. But so far, so good. I feel like I'm making great progress on all of these parts, and when I'm done, they are going to look as good as they possibly can. Alright, so I've gotten all these pieces basically to the point where they're ready for a final polish, but I'm not going to do that final polish until I actually get them assembled, because otherwise, they're still going to get fingerprints and whatnot like that on them before I get them together. Except these pieces. I still need to clean these guys up. And I just need to really... the vertical parts here are visible when they're assembled. So I'll need to give these a little bit of a shine. They don't need a mirror finish. They don't actually have a mirror finish on them. So I just want to knock down some of this slight corrosion, and most of it's actually not so much corrosion as it is just dirt that needs to be cleaned up on these vertical surfaces here, and then make sure that the areas inside here are clean and that we don't have any rust issues going on in there. So with that said, and these guys, I gotta say, back to the aluminum foil, this stuff works really, really well. I'm super pleased. These things, same thing with them. I'm gonna need to give them a final polish once I actually get them installed. But they've turned out awesome. I'm extremely pleased. So these guys are ready to go. All these parts, so the legs and the crossbars are all polished up and ready to go. So I just need to do these sort of T parts of the legs and get those cleaned up. And we're ready to start putting those back together. Alright, so cleaning these up, not really much to it. Using just a kind of a putty knife here just to knock away some of the dirt on these corners. Going real gently on the surfaces that actually touch up here. The bottoms I'm not as worried about because these are covered by the plates, but be careful not to scrape anything up. And then just just gotta knock knock any in the dirt that's down there free. Maybe I'll try grabbing a brush here. This is just a little wire brush, just to help get in some of these cracks. Most of this stuff is just dirt. In fact, pretty much all of that is just a little bit of dirt. All right. So then, for scrubbing these flatter areas, just got a red Scotch pad just to help knock things down. And this is all on the bottom side, but still, you know, you want to get all this stuff cleaned up. No point in reassembling something that's already dirty. You've gone through so much effort to try and clean it all. You know, just since I've got it out here, I'm gonna go ahead and layer a little bit of polish, like I have on the other parts. Just lay a little bit of polish on these surfaces here. Not really going to add any more, but I actually switched over to using a drill, so I can work without the compressor going off. So yeah, just loaded up the same head into my cordless here. Again, these are not gonna shine up like crazy. Just want to have them nice and clean and as reasonably shiny as we can get them. Let's try a little bit of our magic aluminum foil. Got some slight scuffing. Another nice thing about this stuff is it molds to shapes really well. So like getting in these corners becomes a lot easier. That I've got the clutch turned all the way down on my drill here so that any real pressure, it's down on 1. So any real pressure is gonna make it do that little grindy thing. So it doesn't take hardly anything to stop it. And with that, you get a pretty nice shine on there. So, pretty good mirror finish on it. Not perfect, but again, that's not, you know, that's not what we're kind of going for here. Just to give you maybe a side-by-side of how those are looking. You know, from a still dirty and nasty and pretty nicely cleaned up and polished. So I'm going to finish working on these tees and we'll be back in a little bit. I think that's going to be it for this episode. We've, like I said, all these are the good control panels that I've got. I've got quite a few of them. They're all clean and ready to go. Just need a wipe down because they've been sitting out for a little while. I've got all the leg pieces, all the crossbars, and all the feet ready to go. And like I said, they're going to need probably one final little polish once I get them actually put together. But all in all, they turned out great. I'm super pleased with them. So there we are, polishing. So next video, we're going to do something pretty exciting, I think. So paint is going to happen, and we'll be going over to our friend Sam's work, over to his shop, and we'll be using his booth, talking about paint techniques, see about mixing some paint, color, how we're cutting everything, producers, primers, sealers. It's going to be very exciting. So that's what's coming up in the next video. And then after that, we're getting real darn close to reassembly time, which is pretty darn exciting. I still have another pre-assembly video that I want to do with the monitors and see if we can get have another little special guest star on the show. But we're getting real close. Maybe a couple more episodes and we'll be looking at reassembly. And reassembly is going to be really very similar to the disassembly video. It'll just be kind of putting everything back together and then firing these puppies up. So until next time, I appreciate the subscribers. I think we're up to 50 subscribers on this channel, which is pretty amazing. So thank you all for that. If you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see the end of this series, please subscribe. You get a little notification about when I upload videos every month or so. And we've got some more exciting stuff too coming up. This is not going to be the end of this series. Well, it's going to be the end of the series, but at the end of the show, after we finish up the Nintendo Dual Versus cabinets, the red tents here, we'll be moving on to some other projects around my other games. So there's more to come. But yeah, so please subscribe. That's great. You'll get little notices, and we'll try and keep it interesting for you. And yeah, if you've got any questions about polishing or rubbing stuff together, which feels like all I've been doing for the last couple months, please feel free to ask questions. Happy to answer what I can. And man, all these parts just turned out so great. I'm so pleased. Sorry, I just got distracted. They're shiny, like a magpie over here. So yeah, so more videos to come. Subscriptions, please do. Until next time, and we jump into the paint booth. Take care, and cheers.